Glasshouse, the whole truth.
Mr. Howard, is it true you always avoid answering difficult questions? Mr. Howard! Mr. Howard! Mr. Howard, are you going to answer?
No.
G'day folks, welcome to the Glasshouse, the program that asks the question, if Mark Latham actually gets convicted of assaulting a photographer, wouldn't you hate to be the guy who has to take his mugshot? More news than a shower of Aussie gold this week. The big talking point over the opening ceremony in Melbourne was a flying tram and a Michael Lunick duck. Still could have been worse. The first option was a flying hitman and a Michael Lunick Holocaust cartoon. Originally, the bird wasn't even in it. During rehearsal, someone saw the tram, shouted, "Duck!" and they sent a kid out to get one. As the Labor Party continues to kick itself into true believers, Kim Beazley is using John Howard as his inspiration. Kim says if John could turn around an 18% approval rating to become Prime Minister, so can he. Now, if Beazley can just run against Paul Keating in the next election, he'll have a shot. The Poms have changed their mind about showing our Where the Bloody Hell Are You tourism ads on TV. Tourism Minister Fran Bailey said it was a bloody good decision. And it was about time the whinging dickheads changed their shitty laws. US Secretary of State Condoleezza Rice popped in and was all smiles, saying, once again, Australia and America are fighting shoulder to shoulder, not just to defeat an evil threat, but to promote a common good. Yep, cheaper petrol. Yes, Australia and America are shoulder to shoulder, not to mention lips to buttocks. The man touted as the new US ambassador to Australia is not only a close personal friend of W, he also has no foreign policy experience, which means he could be the next president. Still, it's going to be great. He'll come to Canberra, Alexander Downer will slap him on the back and say, "Where the bloody hell are you?" And he'll say, "I don't know." It's the best of times, the worst of times for Russell Crowe. He's just bought his very own rugby league team, but won't be appearing on Sesame Street anytime soon because the executive producer says he may not be the best role model for kids. Yeah, well, Lindsay Lohan's not the best role model for drivers, but it didn't stop her starring in Herbie. Sesame Street was Rusty's dream, and to think it was just a phone's throw away. Happily, they are thinking about having him on the show when it's brought to you by the letter F. Congrats!
Hi. Medical news, Will Saints. It's been revealed Australian soldiers in Iraq are suffering more injuries fighting each other on the sporting field than insurgents on the battlefield. Sport saves the army from a lot of combat. The enemy sees what the diggers are doing to each other and thinks, why bother? There have been 14 combat injuries to Aussie troops since 2003, but 35 injuries from soccer, touch footy, cricket and volleyball. Still, they're not as bad as those sporting injuries the inmates seem to be getting during activity time at Abu Ghraib. But there's a fine Aussie tradition of sport on the battlefield. Every Anzac Day, as the Corked Thigh Battalion proudly marches past, you can hear soldiers of all ages comparing their injuries. Yeah, lost me eye in a game of badminton in Nam. What about you? Yeah, lost a leg in Fallujah, lacrosse. The big problem with playing cricket on a battlefield is when you run to catch the ball shouting, "Mine!" you step on one.
Dave Hughes!
Hey, I'm excited, very excited. Talking about Iraq, do you realise it's a 3-year anniversary since the war started? Yeah. I mean, we're not celebrating here, but over in Baghdad all week there's been explosions and Oh, it's been great. 3 years, you know. It's going on longer than John Farnham's farewell tour. And almost as many people have suffered. Seriously, I've spent $480 billion on the war so far. I mean, that's almost as much as Melbourne spent on the Commonwealth Games opening ceremony. Out of the two events, I'm not sure which one makes more sense. Seriously though, George Bush is loving it. He said in Iraq we've made good progress in the 3 years we've been there. Now, I don't know about that. That's coming from a man who said he made good progress in the 3 years he was in grade 4. So, I don't know. Other people not so happy about it. The US-appointed former Iraqi Prime Minister, Alawi, said there's a civil war happening in Iraq right now. The White House said that is rubbish. That guy is an idiot. That's why we put him in charge.
All right, let's get to it. Joining me, Corinne and Dave, to throw some stones in the Glasshouse tonight, now starring at the Sydney Comedy Store as part of the Cracker Comedy Festival from the US, Tony Woods. And you know him from Better Homes and Gardens. You know him from Wolf Creek. Now there's an interesting CV. John Jarrett! All right, movers and shakers. First up, a new generation of filmmakers is shocking audiences as they try to outdo each other with the amount of blood and gore in their horror movies. To give you an idea how horrifying these movies are, Wolf Creek, Saw and Hostel are even more gory than The Passion of the Christ. But wait until you see Passion 2. The part I don't understand about horror movies is while the girl's running for her life from the psychotic killer, how does she always find time to take off her top? The trend is also inspiring a rash of new movies. A sequel to Brokeback Mountain called Spine Snap Hill. A sequel to Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets called Genital Mutilator and the Chamber of Torture. And a sequel to The Sound of Music called The Sound of Flesh Being Torn Apart with Meat Hooks, Eyes Being Prized Out of Sockets, and Music. At last. John, you scared the pants off a lot of people. Are you a horror fan yourself?
Well, horror movies don't really scare me that much. But films like The Pride and the Prejudice, that scares the crap out of me.
You're not good at commitment, John?
My wife drags me off to a movie like that, you know, with all that pants down, body whacker stuff and, you know...
What exactly does it mean, pants down, body whacker?
Pants down, body...
Oh, sex, right, yeah.
Yeah, well,
I didn't know what you're talking about.
Maybe for your good self, but...
Did you used to write for Burjo's catchphrase?
No, I'm writing for Bert now.
What about you as a scary? Because, like, I remember when I went to the Wolf Creek premiere and I'd never met you before, and, like, you obviously, like, you're Psycho Mick Taylor in this film, and I remember at the after party you came up to me and the first words you ever said to me were, "I watch you all the time." And I did a little poo in my pants. Do people get scared of you when they see you now?
Yeah, well, you know how people think you're funny, right? Public.
The jury's still out on that one, John.
Talk to me,
Well, you know how people think you're
funny. Yeah, I know, all right.
Well, they think I'm scary now.
I love when, because, like, I mean, obviously, you know, in the film, without giving too much away, you know, you pick up some, like, you know, you help some people who've broken down. Do you just for fun, every time you see a broken down car on the side of the road now, just get out, come up and go, "I'll help you"?
If they're young and fresh.
That sort of stuff.
I really like your audience.
This audience is very young, yeah. I can smell them, they're fresh.
You just want to shake the little chubby cheeks, don't you?
Tony, you haven't seen the movie that he's in, have you?
I don't see any horror movies.
Really?
But I do like the ones and it's always entertaining. You always know what's gonna happen at the end. But the horror movies scare me to death, man. You know,
because, yeah. But
I like gangster movies where people get shot in the eye and stuff. It's more, you know, I'm American, that's more what I can relate to, but that just... Just a crazy dude with no medicine, just killing people?
Yeah.
Oh.
That was him in the film.
What sort of movies are you into, Tony?
I like the movies on planes, the ones they force you to watch.
Yeah.
Stuff that you would never watch normally. Like the one you were talking
Pride and
about.
Prejudice,
Pride
yeah.
and Prejudice. Like, come on, do it already.
But you don't really, I mean, one of those scenes could be awkward on a plane, though. I mean, surely, if you got on a plane, you wouldn't want to get too excited, would you? No. Oh, if you're in first class, you could do it.
Well, if you got a blanket.
You got a blanket, yeah.
It would be awkward, though, if you got the tray table down, you're able to put it back up again without using your hands.
I don't think it counts as the Mile High Club if it's solo.
No.
Depends on who it touches. I'm sorry. Can you say that on TV?
You can say whatever you like. Did you do research? When you did Wolf Creek, did you
Cut people
study?
up?
Did you cut? I don't mean did you cut people up? Well, did you cut people up?
I went for a long drive in the outback and I had a bit of fun, but I'm not going into it.
No.
Like, I heard when you were in the movie, you were like in character like a lot of the time. You wouldn't hang out with like the cast and that sort of stuff. Is that right?
Well, I'd hang out with them to scare them, sort of thing.
So you just creeped them out the whole time?
Yeah, that was my job. I did things like I saw the rushes and you all look really, really healthy and young and fresh and happy, and I just thought veal.
And you didn't wash either, apparently. You didn't wash for 6 weeks, is that right?
Oh, I still haven't. I've got off on it.
You've got off on being dirty.
Yeah, I love it.
So you want everyone fresh except yourself?
Yeah. I've never been sniffed before.
No, well...
It's different.
It's different, but it was good for me.
Our next movies and shakers come from the US, where conservative parents are getting their kids to secretly record school teachers spouting anti-Bush opinions. Then they tell the authorities and try to get them sacked. Actually being interested in what a teacher says. What kind of sickos are these kids? One teacher was suspended recently after a local radio station played a tape of him comparing Bush to Hitler. That's a bit much. I mean, in his day, Hitler was a lot more popular. Personally, I reckon they should leave the teachers alone. Don't forget, they're working in American schools. When they find out their students plan to tape them, they're just glad it's not gaffer. Tony, you like to secretly record people. Are the Conservatives getting a bit desperate?
We've hit a nerve.
Who told you I like to secretly record people? That's the whole point. It's a secret. You know, because how many times have you heard, what is that red light? That's the smoke detector.
What the hell's going on in this show now? We've got Psycho Corner, haven't we?
I like them young and fresh, too.
Yeah, I think I've got the idea for the buddy action sequel.
Eat, don't digest. Was that too much?
But is it, I mean, like finding out that teacher saying that he thinks George Bush is stupid, surely that's not a state secret. Doesn't everybody know that? Why would you sack a teacher for saying the bleeding obvious?
Well, maybe it's too obvious and you should be teaching them things they don't know.
Just start caning kids again and put them back into line. You know, like when I was a kid, you wouldn't be game to even bring a radio transistor in without getting sick.
And so did you get caned at school?
Oh, all the time.
Well, it hasn't seemed to have affected you at all.
No, the kids just... The teachers used to be in control and in charge when I was a kid.
Yeah, we used to get flogged.
Yeah, good kick up the arse.
Yeah, I got punched in the face once.
By a teacher?
By a brother, yeah. Yeah, it was a good Christian brother. Bang, right on the side of the face. Yeah. Thanks, brother. Deserved that, didn't I?
Let's be honest, though. There's worse things Christian brothers could have done to you. So...
I want to know, what did you do to get punched?
It wasn't what I did. Another kid was flicking spitballs at him, and he was going on for about 10 minutes, and I was the only one who could see this kid doing it. And when he realised he was surrounded by spitballs, he looked at the person who was laughing, and that was me. But I never dobbed that other kid in. I took that punch for you, Moose.
How is the American education system, Tony?
Huh?
Where did you go to school?
I went to school in Washington, D.C. It used to be called the murder capital of the United States.
Oh.
Why did it stop getting called the murder? Was everyone dead? So they...
No, there was like the most murders. I never got murdered, but the most murders, and it was a very dangerous. Still is a very dangerous
the kids
city.
get away with murder over there, literally.
Sometimes.
That's why they've got to be brought into line, you know.
It depends on who's gonna tell.
So did everyone have weapons at your school?
No, that was before weapons. We just like, not weapons, not like guns and knives, like baseball bats and, you know, happy weapons. weapons you can go, ouch, they hit me. Not the weapons where you die. But I mean, school teachers they're cool, I guess. Like, teachers call my house about my son, and they say, oh, you know, he can do the work. Well, I'm like, well, pass him. I'm watching television. I'm watching CSI. I'm trying to find out who the paperclip killer is.
I had a teacher at school who wouldn't give girls A's.
Wouldn't give them A's?
Nah.
Why?
In that subject, because he didn't think that
We had
girls...
to earn them.
Well, no, we didn't have to earn them. No, he just didn't believe that girls were capable of doing this particular type of work. So I would get really proactive about it and let a boy do my work. I thought, well, if I can't get an A, I won't do it. So, yeah, taught him, didn't I?
We had an economics teacher who used to stand at the whiteboard and just sniff the whiteboard texters. All lesson. He'd set us one assignment and then he'd just sit there and go, getting high on whiteboard markers.
I was terrible at woodwork. The only good thing I was only good at one thing at woodwork was planing. I used to get other people's work and plane their name off it. Yeah.
Our favourite movers and shakers this week are some of the performers in Sunday's Commonwealth Games closing ceremony, who won't be wearing costumes because the artistic director wants them to go dressed as people of Melbourne. But what constitutes people from Melbourne? Dead underworld figures? Legal prostitutes? 2,000 dancers in Sydney Sucks t-shirts? AFL players pulling on a joint? Or a woman? Or both? It's a dangerous idea. What if everyone turns up as that homeless guy in the gutter outside the Esplanade Hotel with his penis out? Dave, you've been living the dream. Have you got a favourite Games moment?
Yeah, my favourite moment is Asafa Powell, the fastest man in the world. The final of the 100-metre sprint. Final. He got to about the 70-metre mark. He knew he was going to win, so he slowed down. How lazy do you have to be? He had 30 metres... I watched the women's marathon. They sprinted at the end of 42 kilometres. This guy goes 70 metres. Yeah, that's enough for me, yeah.
He really is the Sally Robbins of running, isn't it?
Except he won, but still. It was amazing.
Have you been watching it, John?
Oh, yeah, netball. I've always loved netball.
Yeah.
And I think if I had to buy a team like Russ or, you know, Anthony Lapali, I think I'd buy a netball team.
You'd buy a netball team?
Yeah. It's just been a thing with me since I was a kid. I used to love watching them train, you know, the little white triangle thing, you know.
Don't you worry about how smart they are, because they've got to put their positions on their bibs.
Don't look at their brains, actually.
Yeah, because they've got the positions on the bib. Shouldn't they remember, you know? They're adults.
They're not real bright, just
They're
sexy.
not bright.
They're very sexy.
They're the sexy girls, and apparently bang up for it.
Oh, stop it.
Not with me, but with attractive men.
I was watching a synchronised swimming. That's how sad and lonely my life is. And the two girls from Australia came out and the commentator went, oh, now watch this one, because they put together a little bit of a comedy routine. What? I didn't see that. Synchronised swimming comedy routine. I saw no one holding anyone else's head under. There were no fart bubbles coming up. I didn't see anything. No one bombed the other one. That would have been a comedy routine.
And they work on being absolutely beautiful, don't they? And the makeup's tremendous. And they've got this peg. Up both sides of their noses, you know? They look like some sort of camel being led around the place.
Camels wear pegs, do they?
They do. They do. That's how you...
Have you been watching much of the Commonwealth Games, Tony?
I haven't.
No? doesn't really appeal to an American, the Commonwealth Games?
It's good. I see it.
You're not doing very well. You haven't won any medals.
They're like, we're not there.
That's it. Where are you? Where were you?
Because after the Winter Olympics, I didn't need to see that, man. That curling is the best. When they push that thing and the two janitor dudes. This is sport right here. But the Commonwealth, I guess, is good.
Oh, it's exciting.
Yeah.
And I love the commentary. Someone in the pool, the great Duncan Armstrong. Geez, a wordsmith. Duncan said about someone swimming last night, he said he likes to lead from the front.
Yeah, I heard Nicole Stevenson the other night say the swimmers are on fire. I was like, jump in the pool.
Ray Warren, after Liesl Jones broke the world record, said, words can't describe how I'm feeling. Well, shut up then, Ray.
Watching Dean Lucan commentate the weightlifting, and they're doing the clean and jerk, and the little Australian girl, Erica, gets in. She got bronze, gets it up onto her shoulders, and Dean Lucan at the top of his lungs goes, "Oh, what a massive snatch!"
Later in the Glasshouse, Simon Crean names the prize everyone is going for at this year's ALP Achievement Awards.
One of the most disloyal people I've ever worked with in my life.
Traffic authorities come up with a new treatment for long-distance truck drivers to shock the amphetamines out of their system. And Peter Costello tries to sum up John Howard by not using the one that ends with soul.
I'm not going to use the R word.
Some of the rogues making news this week. Saddam learns that Bush also means vagina.
I reckon they've just heard George Bush say that they won the war in Iraq.
I think they're saying, this trial's funny. Why don't they just shoot us like we would have?
I think they've just been told that they can have the choice of being exiled to Tasmania or be shot, and they laugh about that and then they choose to be shot.
I think they're laughing because they're thinking, wow, these people think we're the real ones.
So this is croquet. George has a bit of trouble learning the rules of cricket, but he still finds it a hell of a lot easier than learning the rules of Islam.
So now Warnie's not the dumbest bowler in the world.
That's John Howard. He's had an extreme makeover and he's very pleased with it. If Americans can't bowl, it's got to be John Howard.
You know what it reminds me of? That scene in Awakenings where there's a guy in a corner who's been a vegetable for years and years and years, and then he reaches up and catches a ball.
Don't look at me, man. I gotta go back home. I don't see nothing.
And here's where we put Diana's head. Philip's looking at my cleavage, the nose picker's checking out my ass. I've still got it.
I think she's thinking, I hope they don't make me bend over too far. I'm not wearing any undies.
Plus the curry.
She is 80, and John Howard said we'd only be a republic, we'd turn into a republic when she's gone. Maybe they're making her dig her own grave.
Why don't you bug it off after a day? We made her work too hard.
You know, I feel stupid. I just figured out who that woman is. I had no idea until you guys were saying what you were saying. I'm like, oh, that's that queen.
That's the queen.
All right. I've never seen her from that angle.
Yes, it's time to award the coveted Glasshouse trophy, which this week is called... And the winner winners of the Lopez-Affleck Memorial War of the Jalapenos come from Mexico, where a married couple are recovering in hospital after the mother of all domestics. They attacked each other with knives and guns, and the fight only stopped when they blew up their house with a homemade bomb. Apparently Juan Espinoza and Irma Contreras were fighting over whether it was a good idea to have knives, guns and bombs in the house. Sadly, the couple is now headed for divorce court, but Irma's lawyer says she's had a good long think about things and is confident she can stab him in the lift. So the trophy goes to the mad married Mexicans. Happily, Juan isn't holding a grudge. He's even going to let Irma keep the house. Well, that's the way it is for Wednesday, March the 22nd. Thank you, John. Thank you, Tony. And let's take a look at tomorrow's headlines. In the New York Times, Bush predicts Iraq victory, but won't say who for.